On this month's edition of The Road Home, we hear from Bill Webb, Executive Director and 30-year veteran of the trucking industry, to share many great things happening inside the TSA and how to submit for scholarship money for your kids. I also talk with Director of Recruiting for Oakley Trucking, Jeremy Kellett. He shares how his 100% independent contractor fleet flourishes and the reason they have stayed independent for 30-plus years. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Let us know what type of content you would like for future segments and share with a fellow trucker. John Piper, host of The Road Home, powered by the Trucker Service Association. I'm pleased to be joined by a special guest today, Bill Webb, Executive Director of the TSA. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, John.
Man, it's been such a pleasure and really an honor to serve the truckers of the association. And, we've talked a lot, Bill, here, especially the last few weeks, about how important America's truckers are to the supply chain. And I know you know it best. What can you say just to kind of kick the show off, a special message out to the TSA members?
Well, I've been in this industry for 30 years, and it's put food on my family's table, literally and figuratively. I've made my living around the trucking industry, and obviously everything we eat, drink, and wear shows up by a truck. So it's I remember when I first got into the industry, I was with a company called FFE Transportation, as you know, and I remember driving down the road with who is now my wife, who was my girlfriend then, and a truck pulled up beside us and was very close, and I remember her saying, "That damn truck," and I said, "Nope, not anymore. Now it's that damn truck."
Yeah,
it was a different perspective. So the industry is incredibly important, in so many ways. I've been fortunate to be involved in creating National Truck Driver Appreciation Week when it first started, when I was at FFE, and Trucks Drive America, which was a program we first developed at the State Association in Texas that wound up going to ATA, and then just meeting all the people, both from the ownership side and drivers. At TMTA we had the first driver training program that was mobile. We had a full motion driver simulator, and we took that across, everywhere from, throughout Texas all the way to the steps of the Capitol, and got to meet so many people. So it's a great industry. There's been a lot of people who have, been very successful at it. It's not an easy industry, and sometimes it's thankless. Very often it's thankless, but not at our house. We're very thankful.
Well, Bill, you bring a unique perspective, starting off your career in operations and then moving into executive leadership roles, many years at the Texas Trucking Association, and now a leadership position here at the TSA. But we have so many members that have been members for a long time but may not know exactly what the impact that TSA has for members. And there's a lot of new members that may have just joined in the last month or two. So why don't we start with the TSA's primary objective? Maybe you could share with the audience really the focus and really the mission of the TSA.
Well, I'll even go further than that. There's probably a lot of members who don't even know they're members. They don't realize they're members. They're part of one of our partner programs, and part of what they get is membership in the association. So that's number one. Really, the association was created in the mid-'90s to do one thing, and that was to leverage the buying power of small associations, small trucking companies, individual owner-operators, so that they had together buying power to go buy things like tires and fuel and insurance and all those kind of things. And honestly, nothing's changed in that time since it was first created. Our goal is still to leverage the power. We have around 12,000 members of TSA. We go to various vendors and try to aggregate that buying power. And ultimately, our goal and objective is one thing, is to help our members, be more profitable and more efficient. Nothing's changed since we started.
Well, Bill, we launched the Road Home at the Great American Truck Show in Dallas last August, and we had quite a few of the member partners, some of the vendors there. So that leads to the next question. How do you decide what products and services to offer the membership?
Well, it's a little bit of a secret sauce, because we have to take several things into consideration. So people say, why don't you do a fuel card? Because almost every fleet has a fuel card. If not, there are other organizations that do, and we don't think it's in our best interest to go try to repeat something that's already out there. So we've tried to look at areas where an individual owner-operator, and that's really, who our members are, one person. There's a few, armchair owner-operators that have got several trucks, but for the most part, it's an individual owner-operator, and what we've tried to do is say, where are they being left out of the mix? So we try to find vendors who don't have, that our drivers and members don't have access to a discount program. And then we try to find vendors who really will let us leverage that size. So there are a lot of vendors out there who will say, yeah, we'll take your 12,000 members and we'll give them, 1% off. Well, that's not doing anybody any good. So, a big part of what we're trying to do is find vendors who really will bargain based on the number of people we can bring to the table. And we don't take a percentage of that. That's not how we're set up. We just simply need our members to participate, because if we do go sign a relationship with a vendor and then none of our members sign up, then we're not going to be able to keep that discount in place.
Bill, one of the big initiatives, not just in the trucking industry, but really all across America is fitness, especially with COVID-19. There's been a renewed interest in health and fitness and wellness. Let's talk a little bit about the Live Healthy, Drive Healthy initiative as part of the TSA.
Well, I think it's really important, first of all. Second of all, you use the word fitness. You sort of have the visual of people in a gym, lifting weights or out running a marathon. And fitness goes, a lot deeper or a lot more shallow than that. It's tough to do a trucker's job and be physically fit, to eat well, to sleep well, the pressures, all those kind of things. It's tough to juggle. So what we felt was important was if we're going to help our drivers, help our truck owners, help our independent contractors be healthy, they not just financially healthy, they need to be physically healthy. So we're not trying to preach. We're not trying to say, if you don't do this, you can't be a member. What we're trying to say is, here's some tools. We're trying to make the tools realistic. When we have a doctor on talking about, aches and pains, well, you're driving down the road, your back's hurting. Is this something I should be concerned about? Or is it just because I've been in the truck for 3 or 4 hours? Things that are useful. So at the end of the day, we just think the best way to help our members be more effective as business owners and as truck drivers is to help them be physical. We can't force feed anybody, no pun intended, but our goal is to put information out there, and those that want to take advantage of it, just like with our bookkeeping tax partner, ATBS, everybody doesn't use their service, but the ones that want to, we put it out there. And it's the same way with our Healthy Living, Healthy Driving initiative. We put it out there, and for those that want to take advantage of it.
Well, it's fantastic that, like you mentioned early, the 12,000 members strong really harnesses a lot of buying power and gets attention in the marketplace and provides some of these services that, quite frankly, a 1, 2, 3 truck operation can't take advantage of.
Well, we all know that one of the biggest expenses for any small business, but particularly trucking, is insurance. And the better your health is, the better insurance risk you are, and the better insurance risk you are, the cheaper your insurance is, the cheaper your out-of-pocket expenses are, the cheaper or the less downtime that you have, because we know if you're not driving, you're not making money. So, part of this is about doing the right thing. Part of this is about, if you're healthier, you're going to make more money. That's all there is to it. And so it really fits in with our overall objective of helping our members be more profitable.
Let's talk next about the scholarship program. I know that's near and dear to your heart, and it impacts me. We both have high school, college-age kids. And I had a chance to interview Corey Norman. He's been a member of the TSA for several years, and he transitioned, neat story, Bill, from the financial mortgage industry to driving truck professionally. He's had 3 daughters take advantage of the TSA Scholarship program. So why don't we start there? Talk about the program, who qualifies. I know the deadline is June 26, fast approaching.
It is, and with COVID, it's kind of hard to keep up with time these days, but we are coming up on the deadline, and the deadline has to be there because to get everything funded, by the time students have to start paying their money, we have to stick with that deadline. It is near and dear to my heart. I took over TSA 3 years ago, and the first thing I said to our board was, if we're truly going to help our members, one of the things that we can do is provide, funding for their kids, their dependents who want to go to school. Every organization I've been a part of, TMTA, we had a great program, Truckload Carriers Association. I could go right on down the line. Those scholarship programs are important. The challenge has been a lot of times our members don't believe it's what it really is. They want to know what the catch is. There is no catch. I don't want to say free money because that has a negative connotation, but there is no catch to it. All you have to do is be a member of TSA, and it can be your children, your dependents, even if you're a grandfather or grandmother and you have grandkids, we allow that as well. It's a simple application process. It's not based on grades. It's not based on what you're going to study in college. It's really based on 2 things: being a member of TSA and filling out a 2-page application on time. That's really pretty simple, and that's really all it takes.
And Bill, I believe the application can be downloaded on the TSA website, and there's information on the TSA Facebook page as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. So anything that you need to apply, and literally it's a 2-page application you can download from tsatruck.com or .org and download it. The instructions are at the bottom of it. You can handwrite it. The instructions are at the bottom of it. You can either email it in, fax it in, or mail it in as long as it hits the deadline. And we usually allow 1 or 2 days, for snail mail to get there. And that's really all there is to it. And the one thing we do ask for is your final grades. But, with things being crazy like they've been with COVID, we do have some leniency on that. And it's not because we want to see what your grades are. We do, though, want to, we don't want people doing this who aren't serious about their education, because these are real dollars. And so that is the one thing we ask for, but there is some leniency if you can't get your hands on those grades because of COVID.
A lot of the professional drivers that are thinking, wow, how great would it be to get some financial assistance for my son or daughter to go to school, whether it's a trade school or a 4-year degree program. They're probably asking right now, Bill, what's the selection committee looking for? Is it real competitive? What are my chances of really getting some financial assistance and some scholarship money for my child?
Well, I said it previously, and I'll say it again. We're not judging people's eligibility. We're determining their eligibility. If they are members of TSA and they submit the paperwork accurately, they will receive a scholarship. So I don't know if we get 20 applications and they're all members of TSA and they filled out the form correctly, all 20 will get, scholarships. I'm not sure how I can make it really any clearer. There are no catches to it. You're not competing against the other people who are applying. It is a benefit of membership and is not determined by how good a student you are.
And Bill, I mentioned it just a minute ago. Is it just 4-year schools only that qualify, or trade schools or vocational schools eligible as well?
So when we first started, it was 4-year schools and 2-year junior colleges. Then after the first year, and we kind of got a good handle on who was applying, then we added trade schools. Now, sort of the other, fourth leg of the stool is online schools, and we allow for that too. The good side of that is most online schools are less expensive. than schools you attend in person. And quite frankly, we may wind up with everything being online schools this fall, although I don't think so. But so all those are allowed.
Yeah, the new normal that we're entering. I did see a couple schools, Texas A&M being one of them, is going to have on-campus classes coming up here the fall of 2020.
Yeah, so I have a son at A&M, and we're excited about that because that's really the college experience. And I may be a little bit biased, and I'm pretty well connected, but I don't know any more than anybody else does. But I just think common sense says this is going to be a lot more back to normal sooner than later. And, you know, we all said after 9/11 things would never be the same. And other than going through TSA, they really pretty much are. This is a difficult time in our country for a lot of reasons. But I truly believe that, you know, education and other things, they may change for the better, but they're not going to change because you can't do something.
Wow, good stuff right there, Bill. Now, in this last segment, let's talk about the Coalition for Independent Contractors. But what is the coalition, and how did it come about?
Well, it started about a year and a half ago, and it's really an industry-wide effort. It's not political. It really came when we saw a number of states who were trying to do things to make it difficult to be an owner-operator. And that really started the place it always starts, and that's California. And when we saw that, we felt like there was a gap in the explanation of how important the owner-operator model is to the trucking industry and to the U.S. economy. When you look at, you know, the term we hear is the gig economy. Well, we call them owner-operators, independent contractors, and they've been around way before Uber or Lyft or anybody else was created. And it wasn't until these other gig economy businesses came around that legislators and regulators started looking at it and say, hey, we're missing some revenue dollars here. Let's start turning all these people into employees. Well, as I said earlier, I've been around for a long time, and I've watched a lot of company drivers become independent contractors. And it doesn't work for everybody, but for those people who have the opportunity to do that and become small business owners, you know, that's really the backbone of this country. So when we started looking at what was going on in the industry, there's obviously folks like OOIDA who do a good job in what they do, but they're political. I mean, by nature, they're political. ATA by nature is political. I don't care, you know, what those groups are. We're not. So we went to different people around the industry and said, we think we ought to do this. And our mission is really one thing, and that is to make sure that people are making decisions in this country understand that independent contractor status is important for the people who have it, or they wouldn't have chosen it, that it's important for the economy. And if you start jacking with it, you're jacking with the economy. And we do it in a number of different ways, but at the end of the day, that's what our message is, the importance of that part of capacity to the trucking industry.
And last question, Bill, how will that message be delivered through the TSA and throughout the industry?
Well, the primary way is we've created an IC ambassador program, an owner-operator ambassador program. And that actually is something we're partnering with ATA and other people in the industry to basically be able to put together from 5 to 12 owner-operators who have the talking points, who are successful in what they do. You mentioned GATS last year. We actually took our first applications for ambassadors at GATS. We've been in the process of training those people. So if a state trucking association, if a business needs somebody to come into their area and talk to a city council or a community group, to Rotary, or at the state level, what we do is send those ambassadors in. They're all working independent contractor owner-operators who go in with their own trucks. They're compensated to do that, and they go in and talk about why they're doing what they're doing, how important it is, why they love it, and in essence, they're putting, you know, their own money where their mouth is by talking about the importance of that part of the industry.
Bill Webb, Executive Director of the TSA, thank you so much for taking us out on the road home.
It is awesome to be a part of it. I've listened to every one of them, obviously been involved in helping develop the content, but to be on it is a pleasure.
Well, on this segment of the Road Home powered by TSA, I'm pleased to be joined by Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting for Oakley Trucking, based in North Little Rock, Arkansas. How you doing, Jeremy?
Doing good, John. How you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
Man, excellent. We were just talking about how grateful we are for the professional drivers out there, and we'll just pause for a minute and really salute them, all they're doing, especially through this COVID-19, deliveries, special health screenings, and all the things. It's tough enough being a driver, but going through all these extra health hoops, I'll call them, man, I really appreciate what they're doing. And let's just start there, Jeremy. What are some of the things there at Oakley that your drivers are having to do for extra precaution, extra health while they're out there on the road?
Well, it's changed. It's changed trucking forever, I'm afraid. I hope not. I say that, John. I hope it hadn't changed it forever, but it's definitely changed the way that they go into shippers and receivers. Our customers are fantastic, but they're still human beings, and we got to respect their thinking towards this COVID-19 virus. So it's required, the face coverings and the mask. It's just another required PPE for our drivers, just like a hard hat, safety vest, and safety glasses to go in and out of these places anymore. So, it's definitely changing things in that perspective.
Well, Jeremy, I've been wanting to get an executive on for a couple months now and really get the perspective. You're 100% independent contractor model and have been really since Mr. Oakley started the company, which isn't unique, but for 25 plus years, pretty phenomenal. Have you ever thought about switching to company drivers at all during that period?
If it has come up a few times over the 25 years I've been here, and I get the weirdest look from my boss when I say something like that. He doesn't want any part of it. And we've stuck with this model for a long time, John, and it's the best thing for us because, when you take an independent contractor, it's his own business, and he takes pride in what he does. He has a lot of responsibility that he has to take care of, and we seem to get some great customer service out of these independent contractors, and it just works for our model. We're not, as what we've done over the years, we're not in it to grow real fast. So we're more into finding that right guy that fits our bill and what we do here, and that's providing that good customer service. And just a one-on-one, we require the owner to drive the truck. So you got to be careful when some people say it's a independent contractor, 100% owner operator company. Well, sometimes they may have trucks with drivers in them, a lot of fleets with 10, 20 trucks, and we don't do that here either. We require the owner to drive the truck, and that is it's made it a slow growth, for us to be able to handle all the customers that we have. But man, in the long haul, it's just paid off greatly.
Well, slow growth, you're approaching 900 owner-operators, and that is unique. I applaud you for that, Jeremy, having that independent contractor that actually owns the truck, knows what it takes to get the job done. Hey, when things get tough, they definitely know how to roll up their sleeves being a small business owner. And, you guys are focused on the dry bulk industry and some specialized. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges that presents itself. And, there's only certain types of owner-operators that you can have run for Oakley Trucking.
Well, the dry bulk industry, you're exactly right, John. That's a good question. I mean, we have to explain this all the time to the people, the owner-operators we're recruiting. You're getting in the dry bulk industry. It's a whole different world, out there. It's we try to tell them that. And a lot of times, because you don't find many with experience. Most of them don't have the dry bulk experience. And, I guess to start, what is dry bulk? Well, when I say that, it's bulk material, put in the trailer and it unloads at one time. So whether you're putting roofing granules in a dump trailer or what we call a hopper bottom, and you go to the facility and you unload it all at one time. It's bulk commodity, and it's anything from, roofing granules to alloys to scrap metal to salt to fertilize to, just a whole list of bulk products that's out there. And I get that a lot of time. People think that we're a local, type stuff when you get into end dumps and hoppers, but we're not. We run all 48 in Canada, all over the country. You'd be surprised where this stuff goes when you learn about the dry bulk industry. So it's a great little niche for us that, I guess we have grown a little bit over time. It doesn't feel like a whole bunch, but because it takes so long to find that guy, that independent contractor that wants to do it, because we understand it's nervous when you've never been in the dry bulk industry and you decide to take a leap from dry van, reefer. It's a challenge, it's a little more hands-on stuff. And what I tell them, a lot more common sense, hands-on. We're very particular on who we pick and who we have lease on with us. So it's just different.
Well, let's talk about, industry average, about 100% turnover, which is still a head scratcher to me, Jeremy. But it's like it's accepted. But you guys, hey, 30% turnover. Let's talk about what you're doing unique and special, that you only have a 30% turnover in an industry that averages 100%.
Well, I have to thank a lot of people for this. One, it's the owners that run this place, Dennis Oakley and Benny Weatherford. They make us stick to our guns on doing things right, and we have a great reputation. They also buy the excellent equipment. So we're a company where you provide the tractor, we provide the trailer, but and having that reputation helps on your turnover, and because you get to pick and choose some really good people. So what we do that probably helps more than anything, John, is I have come up with this thing that we've done for years now. It's called expectations. And we make sure we cover expectations with the potential recruit that's wanting to come to Oakley Trucking. So you do all the work on the front end. We make sure we know, how much money he wants to make, how much time he wants to get home, what his hobbies are, what he likes to do on the weekend, what kind of miles he wants, just everything, his health. That's a big deal. Covering all that stuff in the beginning before we tell them, hey, come lease on with Oakley. We go through a very detailed expectation list with these guys to make sure they're going to fit the bill of what we want and we can meet their expectations. They give us expectations that are just too high. We're just say, look, we can't do that. I'd love to, but we're not going to set you up to fail here. We had rather, what's the saying, John, where you deliver a lower sale, but when they get here, it's more than what they expected. So that's our plan.
Yeah, under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the Oakley way. That's awesome, and it's being a family owned business. My perception of being around the industry for a long time is you treat them like family. Is that right?
Well, you sure try to. You got to respect their business. They're a company, they're businessmen, and we have to keep that in mind. That's what's really good about the dispatchers is they understand you got that one-on-one dispatch, and you got to understand that he's trying to run a business too, but also we got to treat them like family. So that's why we find out these expectations up front is what their needs are, and can we meet them and communicate that with dispatch, whether we can meet those expectations or not, because the last thing we want to do is get a guy in here, then he goes to dispatch and dispatch says, man, we can't do that. That's not right. We don't want to get there. We want to make sure that these owner operators that are coming in that feel like family, and we have this family atmosphere here. We're constantly checking on them, making sure they're making their miles and their money. We go to the extent, John, of sending a anniversary gift card to their wives, to their spouse once a year to acknowledge them and appreciate them for what they do at home while he's out on the road helping us make money. And So we do little things like that that create that family atmosphere. You should see our office, John. When you walk in our office, it's just wide open, and you got desks bumped up to each other, and we're just communicating all the time at recruiting, safety, dispatch. We're all out here together. There's no cubicles. There's no barriers to separate that. So it's a little hectic for sure, but man, it's just a great way to communicate and make that owner operator. He can walk in that door and it's wide open to him too. He can walk up to safety. He can walk up to me in recruiting. He can walk up to his dispatcher at his desk, and he can have that open family feeling very quickly. And we just built a new driver's lounge that is top of the line, that is really nice for our owner operators here on the property. And then we're in the just about finished with our new office. So we've got a new office here on the Arkansas River, and it's super nice. And it's still going to have the same open concept. When you come in as an owner operator, you come in and it's wide open. You still come up and talk to me. You can talk to your dispatcher or safety or whoever you need to. So that helps it bring that family atmosphere.
Well, Jeremy, next time I'm through North Little Rock, I'll be traveling here probably in a couple of weeks. I want to stop by and check it out. You've got me very interested in seeing the new facilities there at Oakley Trucking. But here on the road home, we like to help as many truckers as we can. It sounds like you do a great job in communication. Can you share with the rest of the audience, maybe some other trucking operations that might be listening, some of the keys on the onboarding process and how you communicate with the independent contractor and that process, maybe different platforms you use as well to get your message out to the independent contractors?
Sure will. Thanks, John, for asking that, because I want to tell people the first thing that comes to mind is we just started this Oakley podcast. Trucking Business and Family is the name of it, and you can search for it by the Oakley Podcast. And we've just got started with it. We're on like episode 10, and this is a podcast that is for our owner operators. That is who we're targeting. So a lot of times, it may not be real good to listen to if you're not an Oakley owner operator, but it's still got some good, interesting stuff, because we have episodes on there where we talk about things in the office that's going on that will help our owner operators do their job out there, safety updates and what the safety department is looking into and what's important right now. Dispatches come on a couple times and told about the freight and what's going on with it. We do it weekly, so it's fairly up to date. Just things that podcast is a great communication tool, and it's going to get better as time goes on, but it doesn't beat face-to-face, John. Face-to-face communication, even before we lease people on, is critical, but talking to them helps tremendously. We try not to do the texting and all that stuff. We want to talk to somebody face to face while they're here, because you come into a company and you lease onto them, and surely I would think you meet your dispatcher and you sit down face to face. I know you do here at Oakley, and I'm sure you do at other places. Well, that can't be the only time you sit down and talk to the guy. You have got to make it a point to bring him back in here. We encourage a month to 2 months later, bring the guy back in here, get away from the phone, sit down in an office, sit down on the tailgate out in the parking lot, and have the conversation with the owner operator of, hey, are we meeting your needs? Or a lot of times it's, hey, I need you to do this. This is keeping you from being successful at Oakley Trucking, because our goal here is for the owner operator to be successful. Well, sometimes that takes some hard coaching too. It takes some criticism that I always tell the owner operators when they come through, look, you got something on your mind. Do not let it fester. Don't think it's going to change. It's just going to keep digging at you. Don't go home and tell your wife and gripe at her. Get it off your chest and come and tell this guy, tell the dispatcher. And I have to tell the dispatcher the same thing, because he'll have stuff that's bothering him about this owner operator, but he won't get him in here and tell him to. So we encourage that face-to-face communication, getting it off your chest, and you wouldn't believe how much better you feel after you do that.
Great point, Jeremy. Both dispatchers and especially the independent contractors have a ton of windshield time. And if you let that fester, we actually did a segment just last month on how to deal with stress and worry. And part of it is communicating, with your colleagues in the workplace and just getting things out there, talking about, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen? And a lot of people have that fear of, hey, if they share something with their dispatcher that maybe they don't like certain routes or lanes, that they're not going to get good loads anymore, right? But that's not the
and when
case.
when you get in that state of mind that this has bothered me, well, guess what? You start talking to other people, and they start saying, "Oh yeah, that's bad. I wouldn't do that. You better be careful." And next thing you know, misery loves company, and you're sucked into this ditch, and you can't get out of it. And me and my wife we have this saying, when we start getting a little negative, she'll say, "Get out of the ditch, Jeremy." And I'll say, "Get out of the ditch, Elizabeth. We got to stay focused on what's going on here."
Hey, I'm going to write that one down. Get out of the ditch. I like that. It's that old saying too, if somebody tells you, hey, John, you don't look so good. You feel all right? Like, oh yeah, I'm fine. But then that second person says, John, you look a little tired. You feeling okay? Then you start believing it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, man, good stuff right there. This has been so good. Hey, one other thing, other than financial compensation, I know you guys are a little unique in the owner-operator model where you pay by the mile versus a percentage of the load. Any other things that you want to share that you've done differently there at Oakley to keep the turnover so low?
The pay is definitely a key to the turnover rate. If you ask me now, Oakley's the only company I've ever been at, so this is all I know is what we do here. But to me, steady mileage pay works for these guys. Most of the people we run into with owner operators is they need that secure paycheck every week, and it makes their stress level go down when they know they can make so much money. Now they do have to get confidence in us that we're going to keep them running. And that takes a little bit till they see that we're for real, that we're going to keep them running no matter what. But to have that mileage pay and that consistent check coming in every week, as long as they work, it is a world of difference, because you get in percentage. I'd hate to know I was getting paid percentage right now, John, because percentage pay right now would be a nightmare, and you'd really be having to work twice as hard for the less money. And that's not the case with us. With the mileage pay, I started out dispatching here a long time ago, and it was a challenge. I did. It was a challenge to do, but I tell you what, these dispatchers these days have amazed me on what they can do, because we have beat it in their heads that, look, we're going to keep these owner operators. We're not going to let them go hungry. We're not going to let their paychecks go down. We're going to continue to get them, even if it costs us money, because we've been doing this long enough that we know it's a short-lived deal, to where we're not making as much money. And that's what's happening now with this pandemic. I mean, it's created, freight rates have gone down, and there's not much margin in what we do, but we haven't lowered our mileage rates. We keep it up there, and everybody worries about getting the miles when you go to mileage rate. And I understand that, but it just takes time for them to have confidence in their carrier that they're going to keep them busy regardless. And that's what we've done. I can't say enough about dispatch and operations and how they have managed to continue to keep our guy. I ran some numbers last week, John, just to compare, the difference in the first couple months of this year compared to the last couple months of this year. Our owner operators are making just as good of money as they were in the beginning. The hard part of that is they're working harder to do it. They're waiting longer. They're working some weekends. They're making sacrifices on their end, but they're still making the money. And that's the part, we want to continue.
Well, that's probably due to the challenges of the health and safety of a lot of your shippers and consignees, the wait times and they're probably working with less factory.
A lot of it, we just hadn't had the loads. I mean, we just had, it's just been thin pickings, but luckily it's coming around a little bit now. So we're feeling a lot better.
Well, Jeremy, last question I would like to get, and, with your 25 years there, you got any interesting stories from a shipper or a consignee that you serve that, makes a unique product or a unique story, getting a delivery just in time to help get a special product made? Anything you'd like to share?
Well, that's a good question. I guess we've got several. Some of the things that we haul, we've gone to some interesting places. You'd be surprised. Like, you're a baseball fan, right, John?
Yes. So
we've hauled a lot of baseball dirt to these professional baseball stadiums. We've done quite a bit of that over the years, and we'll have our owner operators, they'll send pictures of them being in front of the stadium. And you'll do a lot of compost and that kind of stuff to different places too. We've hauled, I can't even remember now what that was. It's been so many years ago, but we hauled a load of something in an end dump trailer to the White House. So we got a picture of that. Different things that we haul. You start looking into the dry bulk business and the industry, and you start seeing the different things that we haul. And people will see one of our trailers go down the road and they'll go, well, I can't believe he's going all the way to, Las Vegas, or I can't believe he's going to Pennsylvania or Florida. And we cover all over the country. It's just a neat little niche in the trucking industry that we've got, and we love it. And we thank the Lord that it's prosperous and has been good to us too. We've had, I forgot to tell you this, but, we've had a couple of owner operators actually have the virus and, have recovered. Thank goodness. I did one of my episodes is with him and telling his story, which is a really good story to that guy. And we're just so glad that we haven't had but just a couple have it that we know of, and everybody's been safe and doing what they're supposed to do. I can't thank our owner operators enough for what they've been doing and carrying us along and still able to take care of the customers and making money the whole time. I mean, we just got a fantastic group of owner operators here for sure.
Well, what I'd like to do with your permission is we'll take a link to that podcast, talking to that driver, because this podcast is directed towards that independent contractor out there, and it'll be in our show notes as well, because we like sharing stories like that, Jeremy. That'd be fantastic.
Yes, that'd be great. I would love that. I'd appreciate that a bunch, John.
Well, Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting, Oakley Trucking, thank you so much for taking us home on this segment of The Road Home. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.